Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up, period. I'm Tristan Wright and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce, that thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real.
Today we're talking to Elise from MediaWords. Elise, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So now you've been in business and working for others for a while now. So you started as a global planning lead role. I want to hear a bit about your backstory and how you came to running MediaWords.
Well, I always say born and bred in large agencies, and my role is predominantly, has always been as a media planner. So, working out who the audience is and how they consume media and the best way to sort of break down the budgets to reach the people. And I love big agencies. I was just in and out for ages. And then I had the opportunity I was maternity leave. I didn't get my job back, so I had an opportunity to start my business, MediaWords, which was really exciting. But I also kept contracting with the big agencies, so I was probably too scared to take the leap, and just go all in.
Yeah.
And with that, I was working in the Dentsu network for quite a while. And, I love the big agency churn because it is a churn and there's lots of people, lots of things going on. And I really love that fast pace. And I managed to get a position with Sonos, the speakers and headphones, as a global media lead, which was amazing. And that's just a unicorn job. You don't get to be the planning lead and sit in, the morning to Peninsula and lead clients or, the accounts on a global scale. So that was amazing. But in the end, it was just too much and it was not aligned with my values. Like I love Sonos and the client and they were amazing, but the agency just didn't sit right with me. And I was just tired. I was tired of not being able to do my own thing, not, sort of live to my values. There's a lot of sort of smoke and mirrors in agency land. So I stepped back and, finally backed myself and has been running MediaWords sort of just solo ever since, which has been great. Lots of learnings.
Yeah, I imagine it's very different going from big agency to running your own show. But I want to hear, before we get into that, the smoke and mirrors, because we often hear about smoke and mirrors with small businesses and they're very good at selling and marketing themselves, but they're delivering less so. But I want to hear about at the big agency level as well, what the story is there.
I think the thing is, look, the big agency is amazing. They've got some of the best talent going around. They've got all the research. They've got access to data. They've got all the tools and, everything. However, at the end of the day, they're run for business for profit, and which we all are, but sometimes that means that the teams are really lean. There's a lot of juniors, which is totally fine. But I think, there's sometimes the transparency model might not be there. For example, at a pitch time, and anyone that's been, in a pitch situation with big agencies will know this is, they roll out the big guns. This is your team. This is going to be your pitch team. This is going to be the team. And at the end of the day, they're just people in a room. And when the client wins the business, those people aren't to be found. And then the client and then the agencies are sometimes even haven't got a team to fulfill that business. And what are some of my roles with some of the big agencies, the holding companies, is I was a person to be brought in as a consultant to onboard these teams or these client teams. And, and then I would leave and so that whole song and dance about this is your team in the pitch was never going to be your team. And I just think, I think also when I started with AM in agencies, there was more time to learn, to train people, to use the tools. And now we just don't have that time. So there's just a scramble. So often, you might have a senior led team, but that person's like FT might only be 10%. So they're not actually doing the work. You've got the juniors doing the work, which is fine. It's fine. And some of these juniors are amazing, but they just don't have the experience and they're overworked. So they're just rushing to get things out.
Yeah, interesting.
Look, I love big agency. I don't want to bag them. They have their uses and they're, for some clients, they're great. But for some clients, there's just no fit,
What I've seen, and I'd like your take on it, is a lot of big business are starting to move away from big agency and go to, let's say, the mid-sized agencies that have got around, let's say, a 30 head count. So they get more the seniors time because the bigger businesses are starting to see through what you've just said.
Yeah, 100%. There's a big movement, globally, and particularly, I can talk about Australia. There's like something like 260 independent agencies. That would be more. There's an association called the Independent Media Association Australia, the IMAA, and they add, they're an advisory board and on their books, they've got like 260 plus agencies. So, and I think the thing is, these independent agencies are started from people walking away because they're frustrated or they've got a different offering. So they're trying to bring a different offering to clients. They usually go senior led and yeah, it's great. And so now businesses have a choice. They can go to the big holding companies, they can go to a one-man band, or they can go to an agency with 10 to 30 people. Like there is so much choice, which is fabulous.
Yeah, totally. So, and it doesn't have to just be that big agency anymore because you've got those subject matter experts or business people. It's a lot easier to set up a business today than it was 10 years ago.
Gosh, 100%. And I think also, oh God, I forgot what I was going to say, but there was, I think, there's a business or an agency for everyone kind of thing. So, and sometimes you just need like someone to give you some advice or some consultancy. So yeah, it's just great. I think it's really positive.
Now, prior to our conversation or prior to this, you shared with me that you've got an opinion on cowboys that are in the industry. So, and as do I, but I want to hear your thoughts. I want you to share that. We might be a bit polarizing here, but let's go for it.
I don't care because the thing that keeps me up at night or the thing that I just hate is that people just bullshit people and they're just taking the ride. There's some people, a lot of people out there, I call them the cowboys, and they just don't have the experience. They're just, they're good talkers and they'll talk you into something. They'll take your money. And they just don't have the foundations or the experience to actually talk about what they're talking. And I think, media and advertising, it's very subjective, isn't it? Like we're all media experts. We all consume media. But I think, and I think it comes down to transparency too. Some of these people, I don't know. I've seen some really shonky things happen. And, I think it's heartbreaking when you have these businesses that, putting everything on the line, giving you money to spend for them. Like it's a big responsibility. And so I think I always say to people, just check, don't get taken in by all the shiny things or the big talkers. Like, maybe it's someone that is not as polished that is a better fit for your business, And I think before we talked about how on Instagram, you're just getting so many of these videos about the dream, like I'll make you $1 million and I've done this and I've done that. It's just, I don't know. I just worry that, people get taken by these people.
What really frustrates me is, and it's in the coaching industry, it's in the marketing industry, it's in the advertising industry, is you get some young 20-year-old upstart or 23-year-old upstart who has been able to do a short course and become a so-called expert in a very, very narrow area. They might be a good copywriter or something, but then because they're a good copywriter, they go and sell their full service marketing skill sets.
Oh my God, 100%. It just drives me wild. I just can't. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you know what? Give it a go, but just speak your truth. Like, stay in your lane. Like, because there's just that particular feel for people like you that are coaches, and all of a sudden there are so many coaches, and it's like it takes more than just a certificate from an online.
You know what? It doesn't bother me because it bothers me because people get burnt. But like there's a point of I personally got a point of difference. I've actually got the runs on the board. I can point to those runs on the board and that experience.
Yeah.
But there's these industries, the digital online industries, we've got to make sure we stand out and actually show our expertise. It used to be just like the marketing advertising. It's like we need to talk to the client's pain point and be able to show that we can solve their issue and we understand their issue. But we actually also need to prove that we've done it before.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like the experience and, showing people that you've actually know what you're talking about and you've done it before. Like, I mean, even, when I had a conversation with someone who said to me, oh God, I can't believe you're doing TV. Like, TV's dead. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I mean, that's just, why would you use that? And I'm thinking, hang on, mate, you're a videographer. You haven't asked me who my client is, what my demo is, what our objective is, what have we done before. And I'm here to tell you TV is not dead.
He's giving advice on something he hasn't even got all the facts.
And I'm just like, what? But there's so many people like that. And you're right. Yeah. It's got to just brush it off and I think stay the course.
Yeah. Now, we've spoken a bit about the industry, but I want to hear a bit more about MediaWords. You set it up. You worked with Sonos, you did your own thing part-time. Tell me a bit about the journey of setting the business up and running the business. How long have you been running it for?
So MediaWords, so next year will be 10 years. So 9 years. And probably for 6 of those years, I was doing consultancy as a sort of, as cash flow to start with. Because I think when I started, my dad kindly gave me $3,000 and he said, use this for legal advice, off you go kind of thing. And God, there was just so much I didn't know, it's just, the reason I started MediaWords is because, I was frustrated about the old model and I wanted to, start something new and offer transparency and experience and all the stuff. But what I didn't realize is cash flow. I mean, like, that's a whole game, isn't it? Like seeing in and outs. I had no idea about that. I think when I first started, my husband said to me, why are you making no money and you're so busy? And I said, oh, just helping people, getting out there. And he goes, yeah, no, that doesn't work like that. So, pricing is a big thing, learning how to price. And even now it's just a bit of a game, isn't it? You just sort of hope for the best.
So many people don't actually understand that, okay, yeah, my wage is $60 an hour, but that's not what I charge. People don't understand that you've got your wage, then you've got your open the door costs, you've got your profit. Someone that's being paid $60 an hour. I also forgot about efficiency. Like, you're never going to be more than 80% efficient. Like, that's your best person. If you're a business owner, you're only going to be able to charge 40% of your time, kind of thing. So,
100%. I mean, I remember, and again, my husband, I had a conversation with him, and he goes, when you charge $100, you don't get to keep $100. Like, you got to pay this, you got to, the tax, salary tax, work cover, insurance, So I was probably blind to that. Was also, because I've worked on client side for so long, I'm like, what's your problem? I'll fix it. So I'm a people pleaser. So I was like, yes, I can do that. And so, even now, like a lot of our stuff is short turnarounds, tight deadlines. And it's quite stressful because you're responsible often for a lot of money. But yeah, I think also listening to the right people and having the right people around you has been one of my learnings, because
Experience.
I taken by a few cowboys. I was like, wow, that's amazing, and I think, so I think having that right support group has been pivotal and has actually enabled me to grow. And I think, it's just such a learning. And even now, because I think in small business, you don't only need to solve the problem when you're right in it, don't you? Like, you're like, shit, what do I do? And then you're scrambling and you're ringing people going, oh my God, So I think it's really important to have that support group around you,
Yes.
and and I think one of the things I've loved about listening to your podcast is it's a bit of a support group, because it's like, I didn't know that. And, off you go Googling around, or, just reaching out to people on LinkedIn. There's so many people that are just happy to help.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, we innately want to help others kind of thing. So it's just, as an individual, most people are too shy to ask for help, or like, oh, I don't deserve the help. But you're the sum of the people around you. So hang out with people that you want to learn from. And most people will actually give you that support and guidance. So I want to go back to the thing that you mentioned a few minutes ago, that you're still doing short turnaround stuff. I'd be interested to hear about how you structure your agreements and engagements with your clients. So especially if you're doing a lot of short turnaround stuff right now.
Well, we have, there's always a scope of work. So usually I'm planning. So for now, I'm planning, I would be planning 6 months out kind of thing, because I think the thing with media, it's not just ringing the radio station and going, hey, can I have some spots and dots? We're looking at what happened last year. We're looking at the results. We're, having a look at what's around. We're running the data, looking at the audience. So there's a lot of steps. And I think I saw something, I think it was on Instagram or LinkedIn, where there was an iceberg, and it's that under the water kind of thing that no one ever sees. So we have a scope of work, and it's quite tight. And it's like, this is the role that we're going to play for you. We always work to timelines, but I think sometimes what happens, and it depends on clients, is, they've got maybe internal stakeholders might throw a bit of a grenade in the plans. And so you're all working to one direction, and then something pops up, or budgets get cut, or you get more budget. So then you have to replan. And then there's, a lull in sales. So all of a sudden they need to be on radio next week, or they need to pull radio. So I think it's having that scope of work, and then understanding, the time and the support that needs to do the job. You need to do the job, and then sort of working backwards from that. But I mean, nothing really goes to plan, and with having some fat or some, extra capability or hours in your back pocket to allow for that kind of thing. And I think it's a learning thing with clients. Like, I've worked on clients. Most of my clients are very long-term relationships, so we're in a groove. But new clients, I think it's just being really open and just being human, and just saying, hey guys, this is what we need. This is how we're going to, how do you want me to work? And this is how I want you to work. And having those upfront discussions.
Yes. Transparency and clarity up front.
Yeah. So I always say to new clients, my job is to make your job, or my role is to make your job better. Like, how can I help you? Because they've always got a internal stakeholder to answer. So what do I need to do? Do you need your reports on a Thursday? Do you need me to fill out your template? Like, so I try to do that to sort of ease the the bumps that I see coming.
Mm.
And I think also for us as media planners, we're always looking ahead at the things that we might have forgotten or might, happen. So, so we're constantly thinking like 4 months ahead, 6 months ahead. My year is gone now because I've planned like campaigns to December. I'm like, what month is it? How can it only be July?
Yeah,
So I feel like I've rambled a bit, but does that answer your question?
it does. I do have one question though. You mentioned scope of works. What about out of scope? Do you have an out of scope document?
Yeah, I do. In my contracts and my scope documents, I have these things that are out of scope. But what I'm very clear with is we are media. We are very good at doing media and doing the job we do. There's jobs we don't do, but we have got a close network. I call it my inner circle that I pull people in. So if you need SEO, I've got someone. If you need photography, I've got someone. If you need this, I've got someone. And usually what I'll do is I'll refer maybe 3 people because and I've learnt this the hard way, there's just no point doing things you're not good at. Like you got to stay in the lane.
You have to stay in your lane. I was actually more referring to, let's say a scope of work is that you've got 2 revisions and they ask for a 3rd revision, or a last minute change to a campaign is out of scope. Do you charge differently for that?
No, I don't, but I let it slide probably once, maybe twice, depending on the client. The 3rd time, I'm just like, no, okay, we need to talk. Because, things do happen, like budgets, I mean, it's the reality of the world we're in. Like, no one actually knows what's
It's going to change.
So I think you have to be understanding. And I think the thing is, the way I like to work is it's a partnership. So there is going to be give and take. Like I'm going to make mistakes. I might change my mind. Things might happen. So I think and if I'm working with people that don't get that or don't like that, then they're not a
not the right fit. One thing I've picked up on and working with my clients is if it is going to be something that's out of scope, you can let it slide the first time, but notate it and tell them the value of the out of scope work that you've done. And say, hey, this was $800, but we're charging. There's a line item and it's $0 on this invoice.
And I think that's a great idea. I've actually recently done that. We did some work for a client, and I just said, "We'll wear it." But then afterwards, I said, "Look, guys, this is what we gave you. This is what we charged you, but really, this is where it needs to be the next time." And they were like, "Okay, that's good. I get it. Thank you."
Yeah, because that way there's not going to be bill shock for you, and they're not going to take for them, but they're also not going to take advantage of you in the long run as well.
And to that point, I do find there's a big distinction between people that have been paid by the man and are just signing off things rather than people that have got their own businesses and have had to earn every money, every budget or every dollar to give to you. There's a different level of understanding. And when I worked in agencies and I would sign off invoices or they would sit in my inbox for a week or something, so then they'd be overdue. I didn't understand that cash flow. So I think there's 2 different levels of understanding too.
Yeah. Like, as you just said, like you're a staff member, you didn't understand that that invoice being a week overdue, the impact it was going to have at the other end. So
100%. And I've worked in, there was one particular agency I worked in, and there was so much media that had not been invoiced. And I remember my team saying, "Oh, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of money out there." And I'm like, if we don't get money in, how do you expect to be paid? Like, so there's just a general lack of understanding sometimes.
yeah, that's amazing that the team were didn't care about the invoicing.
Well, they just don't get it. Like I remember this particular team. They were great, but they were young. And also, I think the thing with big agencies is, some of these people at 25 years old, you could be in charge of a couple of $1 million. So when people look at you and give you a prop and they go, "Oh, yeah, it's only $70,000," it's like, what? Like, do you know what I mean? There's no There's no value attributed to it.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to signing an invoice or getting it in the system to get paid, because everything's a process, and if you don't follow the process, there's repercussions, but it's not often the person responsible to getting the invoice into, finance. So I just think there's a general lack of understanding.
Yeah, totally. Now, I want to move across to AI. How are you finding AI in terms of media
I love
planning
it.
and that? Yeah.
Love it. I mean, AI has been around a long time in media. We've been using it for long, but
Mm.
the whole chat, Claude, whatever you want to call it, I just think it's just absolutely brilliant. And I've absolutely gone down a road with it where I've gone, I don't know what I'm doing. I've thrown myself in. I've gone, oh my God, this is too much. I've pulled back. But now, and I've had some proper training on it. I just think it's amazing the way you can automate some tasks. However, there's a saying we have is, shit in, shit out.
Mhm.
If you need to know the fundamentals. I mean, at the end of the day, chat is just scraping the internet. So I think the input you put in drives the output you get.
Yes.
But it's amazing. And I think some people will say, oh, I don't want to use it. It's taking our jobs. But I'm like, this is it. You just got to get ahead of it. You just got to learn. Otherwise, you'll be left behind.
So
Um,
a couple of years after the internet came out, there was an article published in one of the big newspapers that said people are the shiny, something along the lines of the shiny tool that was the internet. People are starting to get sick of it, and it's dying off, and life will go back to normal soon. So the article was basically saying the internet was a fad, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Life will go back to normal. And it's the exact same thing with the AI. I think people are starting to think that AI was a fad and using it a tiny bit less, but it's not going away. It's going to be more deeply integrated into our businesses, into our lives, into our routines than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And I just think you just got to get on board. You just got to get
Mm.
on board because I think, and use it for good, not evil kind of thing. But,
Correct.
I mean, I use it in my personal life. I use it in my work life. Um, it's, it's just amazing. It's just a
Mm.
great tool, but you need to harness it. And I think also, this goes back to our conversation on the cowboy thing is just, I think it's really confusing who to listen to. So just maybe do research on actually who knows what they're talking about.
Mm.
But it is quite scary at the same time because I was listening to a podcast, I think the Diary of the CEO, and, they were talking about maybe the downside to chat and to AI and everything. So, but that's the same as Google and Meta and everything.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about how good they are, but there's definitely a downside to them. So,
Yeah.
it's the good with the bad.
The big thing is we need to use it as a tool rather than as a replacement for a strategist, for instance. AI can simplify things and speed things up. The one thing that people miss is AI doesn't have context. So if we don't provide it the context, it's going to fail. So there isn't a way for it to automatically gain context. So
100%.
if
I think that's a very good point, and totally, yeah, it's totally true. Like, just because even when I do research and everything, like, it never gives me the answer, but it does give me things to think about.
because it can't give you the answer because context comes naturally to us. Everything that we learn, we hear, we see, that forms our opinion, our understanding of something. We have to remember that AI doesn't have any of that. So unless we provide all of that, which is absolutely impossible, AI is only going to be able to make decisions on the content that we've provided it.
100%, and it's a good point because I think there's things where I've been doing like strategies, and it's taken me longer to do it using AI because it just takes me down a rabbit hole. And I'm like, well, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. And I'm just correcting. And I'm thinking, God, I should have I know the direction. I know where I need to get to. Why do I even bother? So I think it's an interesting point.
So the way I see it is, and you're talking about the rubbish in, rubbish out, shit in, shit out. If we don't have a framework and a formula that we're following, it won't work. So let's say creating a strategy. There's so many things that we naturally put in at the start, all of that research. We need to make sure that we've got that documented in our checklist so we can actually, if we're using AI, use that formula, that checklist to put everything in so we can actually get that support creating strategy.
100%.
That's the way I see it anyway.
Oh,
Where do you see your business heading over the next couple of years? I imagine AI is going to change a tiny bit. So what are your thoughts on media words and media buying over the next few years?
I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I think if I think about the type of clients I'm working with, like I think it's going to change things definitely, but it won't, for me, it probably won't change my client base or how I'm working with them, because the thing is when I'm buying things like out of home, I can't use AI for that. I mean, people will say, oh, you can just buy out of home programmatically. Well, that's buying it as a digital channel. I'm buying it as an out of home channel. Like, there's different roles. So I think there's a lot of human touch to the media planning that we do, because it's not just digital, because we're not relying on algorithms, like if we're buying radio, but I think there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of business out there, and that comes back to that whole independent, the growth of the independent consultancies or agencies. I think for me, it will be interesting to watch what happens with those holding companies. People are losing jobs. There's a lot of retrenchments going on. So I don't know. I don't know. And I suppose that's the uncertainty of this whole, what's happening politically overseas with the wars, with a lot of, I mean, last year I would have been able to sit here and confidently say, well, this is my plan. I've got a plan, but I just don't know. Like, budgets are affected, everything's affected. So I think for me,
the last 6 months in particular has totally changed.
Yeah.
So, like the way people are buying very much changed.
Yeah. So my plan is just head down, just connect with people and just stay in my lane.
Keep connected.
And also, I don't want to have, my goal with Media Words is not have an empire. Mm-hmm. That's not what I want, but I want to be able to offer services to people that generally want them and need them. So yes, I want more clients and I will grow, but for me, it's about the right fit. Yeah. It's not a churn and burn. So yeah, I'll be here in the background, just doing my thing.
Awesome. If there's one piece of advice you could have given to yourself a couple of years ago, what would that one piece of advice have been?
Oh gosh, it would just be back yourself. You know what you're talking about, back yourself. And stand up for yourself and get that right group of people around you.
Awesome.
Don't panic.
That's it. Big one is don't panic. You'll be able to get through it. So
yeah, well, there's always an answer. There's always a way.
What's the best way to get in touch with you if people want to have a?
Either email me. I'm big on LinkedIn, so just DM. Or my mobile. Just give me a text. I never answer the call. You text me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put the details up in the show notes. Thank you very much for your time, Elise.
Thank you. That was great.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.